At the 8-minute 46 mark, Thierry Henry, having kneeled from kickoff, rises to his feet, having made a powerful statement. Palace Hill's ball in towards the edge of the box. Bow turns nicely, and New England Revolution score! Fired home from Gustavo Ball, 10 minutes after half-time. Blue Tablet drives it, and that's saved right at the death there by Matt Turner.
What's up, everybody? Welcome on into MLS Today, presented by AT&T. Susanna Collins alongside Kaylin Carr. Happy Friday, y'all. We are 3 days into the MLS Is Back tournament. Kaylin, 3 games have been completed. We saw the Revs beat Montreal last night. Based on the games that we have seen, what are some of the trends that you have noticed from the play?
Well, I think guys are still finding their footing a little bit and trying to build their way into it. But I know you mentioned earlier that you were surprised by the, I guess, the level of competition or some of the fight.
The fight, yes, it's more the fight. I think, the quality of play, I think is going to improve as the tournament goes on, as the guys get their feet, as they get their pace back. But what I have been pleasantly surprised at is how seriously these guys are taking it. And you kind of alluded to it a few days ago when you said, as soon as that first tackle happens, it's on, it's game on. But we had also heard guys talking that, this feels like a preseason. And so there was a part of me that was concerned that maybe it would be not quite as intense, but we saw it in the first game, especially against Miami and Orlando. We saw it from New England last night. Montreal, we can, Thierry Henry has thoughts on his team's effort, but I've been encouraged by just the fight and the fire that I've seen from the players, yeah. Kaylin.
I think that stood out most to me in the Orlando match. I think the excitement of being in the opener and these guys being in Orlando and all the eyeballs on them at that point, and that was the one where I could say, all right, that was kind of like maybe a gutsy performance, or you could see the emotion maybe carried them through, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
To me, the first halves have all been a little tentative. People are generally like, you see even just the way teams open up, you're not quite sure, you're kind of feeling each other out, and you just have to remember that these guys have not played against anyone yet. So they are figuring this out on the fly. And, going through these preseasons myself, you generally start where the starters will maybe play 45 minutes. And then you kind of build your way to 60. Then you build your way to 75. And these guys, I would say, are probably around that like 45 or 60 in some cases, to be generous, and are still trying to figure it out. So I think we'll see them build into the tournament. Germany was the same way. When I watched the Bundesliga at first, it was lacking a little bit of sharpness, some quality in the attack as well as in the defense, where even in MLS, I've been seeing guys maybe slow to close down or tuning off on a restart. That's where some of that fitness, match fitness, even from a mental side, I think is still missing. So it may be in the group stage, or it may actually come as we get into the knockouts.
Only 3 days in. Give it a little time. Guys. We have such a great show coming up. We're going to talk more about New England's win against Montreal last night. We also check in with Sporting Kansas City's Daniel Salloi, and we look ahead to tonight's matchup between Seattle and San Jose. So you have that to look forward to. But guys, if you haven't heard, and I'm sure you probably have, there's been a little bit of shuffling amongst the groups. We, of course, have the news that FC Dallas and Nashville SC out of the competition due to COVID-19 cases. So this is what Group A now looks like. Obviously, no Chicago, no Nashville. But we have now seen every single one of these teams in Group A play, Kaylin, and this is how Group B now looks. Obviously, we've got Chicago joining them in the Western Conference teams. But, Kaylin, after we've seen every single team in Group A play, How would you predict that this group is going to finish? What's it going to look like at the end of the group stage?
In Group A.
Group A.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sticking to my predictions before the tournament from what I've seen after seeing everyone play, and I picked Philadelphia to win the group and NYCFC to come in second. I know Orlando City had a great performance beating Inter Miami. They have a big second match against NYCFC, and look, NYCFC have not shown their best, but I think they have so much quality within that side.
They haven't scored a goal, Kalen.
Well, it's been 3 matches this season and about 4 months removed.
I'm impatient.
So they have a new manager. They're figuring out their system a little bit, and they had some good chances. If it wasn't for the heroics of Andre Blake, I think they would have been on the right side of things. So too much quality for me. I think they will get through, but this next match against Orlando City for them is going to be massive.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I am similar in my picks for Group A with you, but we have one little shuffle. I have Orlando City actually finishing second and NYCFC in
Was that
third.
before the tournament, or you saw something in the first match that you said, hey, I think this team can go through?
Well, listen, after we had to reshuffle all the groups, I feel like anything goes. It was
Sure.
totally fine for me. I think I originally had them finishing third, but I think we spoke about it the other day, but I think that the emotional boost that Orlando City is going to get from having won that first game against Miami it bodes well. I think that they are going to carry that momentum. And I see this team they've got confidence. They've got an identity, more of an identity under Oscar Pareja. And I think as kind of the, quote, hosts of this tournament, there's an element of pride. They want to do well. I see a lot of fire and desire in this Orlando team. So I'm having them finish second. Why not?
All right. I like that.
Let's go.
Like that. Yeah, I still think Philly is the best team in the group. I felt that way going into it, and I think partly due to the continuity of them. They are the only team in the group that has a returning manager in Jim Curtin, and I think that really gives them an advantage as far as understanding the team. They have a way of playing, and then also understanding the depth. And because now with the depth, it's not just having the depth, it's knowing how to use it. And I think Jim's going to be able to, even when you saw the way they shifted the lineup and they had to bring in El Seno from the start, which is not necessarily the position you want from him. But then you have Warren Carvalho came in and really gave them a spell to help close out the match. And then when you just look at that group, I mean, we saw the statement that they made before the match, and just the way that this team is, and I've been able to kind of be around it or close to it with just friends on the team. That type of stuff, I think, really helps to reveal something deeper about that group. So I've picked them to win the tournament. It's hard to predict exactly how this thing will go, but I think they've got the pieces to go far.
It's a bold choice, Kalen, and I like it.
Is it? I don't know.
It is. I like it. I feel like they are one of these under the radar teams that never quite gets the credit that they deserve. So I'm glad that you're giving them some love. Guys, the action continues tonight. We have more soccer to look forward to. The reigning champs, Seattle Sounders, taking on the San Jose Earthquakes. That game is at 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Cannot wait for that. We're going to take a dive into this one and Group B a little bit later on in the show. But for now, let's get to the highlights from last night. New England Revolution taking on Montreal Impact. Thierry Henry with a huge statement, kneeling for the first 8 minutes, 46 seconds of that game. Pretty awesome. And Kalen, this was literally all New England for a bit. I mean, They came out firing.
Well, this is what I was talking about with the lack of sharpness in the attack. Just to finish here, where this is such a lovely play here from Pania, who was dangerous all night, to be able to come back across his body. But then just that last little bit, he just kind of pulls it across his body a little more than expected. And Gustavo Bo had a range of chances in the first half as well that normally you would see him finish.
Yeah, this was one of the chances for Montreal. Maxi Urruti just couldn't get a hold of it. But this moment, your guy, Kalen Carr's early pick for Golden Boot, Gustavo Bo, look at that sick little change of direction, and that was a rocket, an absolute rocket.
Yeah. Well, he's not afraid to shoot. That's what I like about Bo. He'll pull up from anywhere, and you can see he's got the quality to do it. And also the provider, Carlos Hill, was fantastic. The way they connected all night provided some danger. And then, they needed a big save late. And this you can see here, he takes one step in the wrong direction, Turner does, and he's still able to recover. We saw the big save from Blake in the Philly match to keep that one a win. So you're going to need your team to show up, your goalkeeper to show up. And this
Absolutely.
is cool, too. What is it? Oh,
this
is
was
at
awesome.
New England.
Yes. So they did a screening of the game at Gillette Stadium. Guys could bring in their cars and watch. And this is after the game. Everybody's honking their horn. It was so cool. Charlie Davies was actually there. We'll have to talk to him at some point and see what that was like. But that was a really, really cool image and a very cool thing that New England did. Okay, here's some stats from the game. And, Kaylin, the thing that stands out to me here, I mean, this is pretty much all New England, in favor of New England, but the shots, 19-7. I mean, they were just creating so much more.
Yeah, and I think some of that also comes from the duels won. That I know Bruce Arena is not one to dig too deep into the statistics of a match, but I think when he sees that one, he will see, you know, a lot of their shots came off of loss of possession from Montreal. They really didn't have a way of getting out of their own end. Wanyama was good, but he seemed to be the only one to be able to try and break pressure and shuttle the ball between the lines. So New England did a really good job with their pressure and created a bunch of opportunities out of that.
Well, after the game, Thierry Henry had some words about his team's performance. Let's hear it.
Well, I sat down for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I guess you guys know why. So that was just to pay a tribute and show support to the cause. That was basically it, and pretty simple.
Thierry, do you think that the fighting spirit that you mentioned, do you think that is due to the long layoff? And if so, are you confident it can come back next game?
No, listen, I've been trying to say something that happened tonight. I'm not saying that it won't happen again. You have to be honest. Give credit to New England. We managed to beat them once. They beat us tonight. And, they wanted more than us. We made too many mistakes on the no pressure, individually and as a team, in order to win this game. But hopefully we'll come back. This is something that we want to have, and we did have before the break, and so hopefully we'll come back as quick as possible.
All right, well, here is a look at the standings in Group C. Obviously, New England on top. They're collecting all 3 points. We'll see how this continues to shake out. But Kaylin, we saw it in the highlights. Thierry Henry taking a knee for the first 8 minutes and 46 seconds of this game. This is the third sort of unique, peaceful protest we have seen in support of Black Lives Matter. And for me, this one mattered. No, I don't want to say even more, but this one was special because it's the coaches. You know, we've talked a lot about the Black players for change, but this is also about the coaches. And Montreal has a really diverse coaching staff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, Thierry Henry has been a leader in conversations around race and football, for racism in football for a long time now. I remember when I was in college, he had made some statements about it, and I remember had worn the armbands around it, and I had picked one up as well. And so he has been a leader in this space and has such a big voice. So in this case, he didn't have to say much to get his point across. But yeah, Susanna, you're right. When you look at that Montreal staff, it is striking. You see the majority of the first team staff is Black. So yeah, this is a tweet here from Patrice Bernier, and I believe he is there with Wilfred Nancy, who has been in the organization in Montreal for a while, and then I think that's Kwame Ampadu, who is, I think, an ex-Arsenal player and came with Henry, who's with him at Monaco. But it's striking, and it really shouldn't be. Why is this so striking where you see maybe a lack of diversity, or you don't see that as much in other staffs? And then when you look up a level as well, you see this is Ali Curtis here with the TFC players showing solidarity on the pitch. And Robin Fraser is the only other head coach in MLS. And then on the technical sporting side, besides Ali, that's Dennis Hamlet, who is the first Black head coach in MLS, who I played for. But yeah, I mean, I've been reflecting back on it, and it's like Dennis took us with Chicago to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals as a head coach, and then never really got an opportunity again. Where have you seen that? And this is just speaking from my perspective or my experience, but I've seen so many other coaches get continually so many different chances at it. And Dennis has found himself in a fantastic position as a sporting director at Red Bull New York, where Ali Curtis was before. So institutionally, you see it's really important to have organizations that do really seek to advocate for diversity within the coaching ranks and within the higher ranks on the technical side. So I talked to Kai Kamara yesterday, and he was saying it was really impactful to have all those former players in a lot of cases and coaches out in the field with them. Zach Thornton, other guys, I played with Zach as well, other coaches around the league that are former players, but he was saying it made him think of the coaches or the people that haven't had those opportunities, that weren't able to be out there on the field or contribute in the same way. So that's something I think the Black Players for Change are also organized and advocating for as well. So hopefully we'll see some change in those ranks too.
Yeah, diversity is good and important for the league. Kaylin, I want to talk a little bit about some of the words that Thierry Henry said about his team's performance. We heard in that press conference. He said, you don't fight, you don't win battles, and you lose balls. I don't want to say he didn't necessarily throw his team under the bus, but he clearly was unhappy with the output and the performance that they put out. They now have 6 days before they play again. After having a performance like that, your coach says these words. Is 6 days, is that a good thing? Or would it be better for this team to have a game, say, in 3 days?
Yeah, no, you do not want 6 days, especially when you have a manager who's kind of called you out. So that's a lot of time to just go and train. And I think most of these teams need games right now because that's what they're lacking is match fitness. And Henry was quick to point out that he wasn't questioning the character of the team. He just was questioning the performance. And the duels lost, some of those moments were revealing in the statistics as well. So I think he's trying to create a culture, establish a standard. Henry, of course, has high standards himself. And he's a new manager with this team. So he's saying even amidst the difficult circumstances or whatever, it's got to be better. And I think the guys will listen.
Well, on New England's side, Gustavo Bo, I have to give credit where credit is due, and Kalen Carr has picked Gustavo Bo of the New England Revolution to be a contender for the Golden Boot of this tournament. And so far, that's looking like a very smart
We only bring
prediction.
these up when I get it right, when I'm looking good. I like this.
Not true, but this goal from Gustavo Bo, again, we saw it in the highlights, but just that little change in direction and an absolute rifle off that left foot. What is the ceiling for him? And then you saw that nice little delivery from Carlos Gil. What's the ceiling for these two guys?
Well, I think they can be. I think they not can be. I think they are one of the best 1-2 punches in MLS partnerships as well because they've got a really diverse set of skill sets. Gustavo Bo can drop back and facilitate, but he can also create opportunities to stretch the field and behind. And Carlos Gil is such a fantastic playmaker. The goal they score, actually, Bo drops into this kind of soft spot or pocket just beneath, but his touch kind of lets him down, and he's still able to kind of maneuver through that soft spot in the Montreal back line. But I think these two have real big potential when you look at Pozuelo and Josie, when you look at who are in the same group, actually. I think they're going to be up there with Rui Diaz and Ladero, some of the top playmaking groups or partnerships in MLS.
Really, really fun to watch. Well, it's worth mentioning the rebuild that has happened within the New England Revolution under Bruce Arena, who, it's hard to imagine this, but it's only been over a year since he entered in as head coach of the Revs. He came in May of 2019. At that point, the Revs were at the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings. They go on to get a spot in the playoffs last year. They're off to this start now. I mean, it's a pretty remarkable turnaround for this club. Kaylin, what do you think Bruce Arena has brought to this team? What's been the difference?
Is it remarkable, though? It's Bruce Arena. This is what he does. This guy just he knows how to, he has experience at all levels, and he has the experience to get it done, the credibility, and then they brought in some weapons. They bring in Gustavo Bo and some of these attacking pieces that they lack to really make a difference in the final third. So I actually don't find this surprising at all. Bruce Arena being in and around the playoffs and fixing a club in a short amount of time is sort of par for the course for him.
It falls to Polino, and he puts
good ball. Demir! Gregush putting the shot on. Service again, and Kai Kamara. That's what Kai Kamara does. Amaria. Looking for Amaria. He's there on the back post, and it's in. Finley to Amaria. Headed on and in. Price. Out! Leaves it for Kindo. What a goal! Now Kevin Molino. Gerso, what a turn by Gerso. Can they put a bow on this? It's Hurtado!
All right, well, Group D gets underway this weekend, starting with a matchup on Sunday between Sporting Kansas City and Minnesota. That game at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. And Kaylin, it is time now for our AT&T Call to the Field, in which we bring in Daniel Salloi of Sporting Kansas City. Daniel, it is so good to catch up with you, see half of your face. How is life? How is life in the bubble treating you?
It's okay so far. We are trying to get used to it, wearing the mask all the time, having to, stay on your own floor, trying to still isolate ourselves from other teams in the first week or two. You don't know who is bringing in something from their own market into the bubble. They had some cases in here, so we're trying to be careful, but so far so good.
Well, we're happy you're staying safe and protecting yourself. When you guys look at the season this year, I know last year didn't go the way you wanted, but in the first two matches, you guys got off to a fantastic start, 2 wins. And it seemed like a big part of it was a new piece, Alan Pulido. What have you seen from him, and what kind of difference does he make for your squad?
Yeah, he's great. We are all really looking forward to seeing him playing more. Honestly, he was very good in the first 2 games. He's been great since quarantine, and he's just a magnet in the box. Honestly, everything he always finds the ball. He always knows how to finish an action. So he's a true number 9. I think he's very good at also checking in, asking for the ball, trying to make a play. So he's very good. I think he's a great addition to the team.
Daniel, I want to ask about your head coach, Peter Vermees, who I know is just a stickler for preparation and undoubtedly has you guys in the right frame of mind heading into this tournament. But what has his approach been as you approach a World Cup style of play? Has his methods changed at all? How has he prepared you guys?
We are we are fit. We are very fit. We've been working very hard. He expects us to be the fittest team in the tournament, and we probably are one of them, if not the fittest one. And we are looking forward to the first 3 games. First of all, I think that's where our focus is. That's very important to get as many points as we can. In case the season continues, we want to be in the best position, and then after go game by game and try to win the tournament. I think that would be the best scenario for us. If for some reason MLS couldn't continue after the tournament, you take away the Champions League spot from half a season, and that would be great for us. So these are our goals, and I can say we are prepared.
I think the initial reaction to the groups coming out was to look in the West at Group F with the 2 LA teams, which everybody likes to do. Houston and Portland, I'll remind you, are also in that group. But I think upon a second glance, people have looked at Group D, your group, and seen the overall strength of that group. When you saw the reaction, when you saw the announcement with yourselves, Minnesota United, Salt Lake, and Colorado, what was your initial reaction to seeing that group?
Well, first was that we have 3 teams in this group who are unbeaten in the league. So I think this is a strong group. I think it's not something to look over. But at the same time, I think it's going to be exciting. And I'm really confident that our team has it in them, that we can advance. We can get the first position even. So that's the plan right now, and we just can't wait to get it started. We're in the bubble. We are training. We are doing everything, but at this point, we are just like, all right, let's start this tournament finally.
Daniel, Sporting Kansas City, as you mentioned, in the first two games, just unbelievable level of play. You collect all 6 points. You outscore your opponent 7-1 in those two games against Vancouver and Houston. What was the difference? Where did that offensive prowess kind of come from, and how do you carry that over into this tournament?
Well, as you mentioned before, we had a couple good signings. I would put Gary Kinda here as well, and Kyrie Shelton returned, and I think we're looking good. We have good depth to the squad as well. Lots of creative players, and it's just something. The other thing is you're always very excited when you get new teammates who are like fun to play with. So this is how we kind of went into the season, and that's why we were really sad when the whole quarantine went down, because we really felt like we have something special this year. So that's why we hope we can show it this tournament, and hopefully after too, if the season continues.
Yeah, I think we're all keeping our fingers crossed for that. Daniel, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate it. Best of luck in the tournament. Best of luck on Sunday, and most importantly, stay safe.
Thank you. See you guys.
See ya. All right, well, as we mentioned, the action continues tonight. We have the Seattle Sounders taking on San Jose. That game is at 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. And, Kaylin, the Seattle Sounders, the defending champs, they made some additions in the offseason, notably the Brazilian midfielder, Joao Paulo. How does that change the outlook for Seattle? I have to imagine they were always going to be a favorite heading into this tournament, but are they even more of a favorite now with the moves that they made?
Well, I think they may be a better team than last year. I was looking forward to seeing them through the course of a full season to see how they do, because I know a goal of theirs, as they had put it, was to be more consistent and to push for things like the Supporter Shield. Now, of course, that has all kind of gone out the window with the way 2020 has gone. But yeah, of course, anytime you have a tournament setting, you're going to have the Sounders as favorites for it, similarly as you would see in the Eastern Conference with Toronto FC. And the real reason is that they win games in the margins and they have so much talent all over the field. But I think in this case, the Brazilian edition is Joao Pedro, right?
Joao Paulo.
Joao Paulo. I always say Pedro.
Joao Paulo.
There was a Joao Pedro.
There was a Joao Pedro.
The Galaxy. Joao
Yes.
Paulo, excuse me. From what I saw from him in the Champions League and early on in MLS, obviously he got an early goal, which gave him some confidence, but I thought at first he was going to be more of a holding player that was just going to kind of connect and allow people to get a little bit more advanced. Ladero at times we've seen drop really deep in the field to be able to go pick up the ball. He's not going to be asked to do that anymore, because I think Joao Pedro is going to be able to really help connect those dots. And then also what it does to Christian Roldan. Roldan has played a number of different positions, whether it's for the Sounders or for the U.S. men's national team. We've seen him switch a little bit to the right wing position because they have Svensson and Ladero in the middle already. So I think overall this could make them a better team.
Which is scary for the rest of Group B and the rest of the tournament. So let's look at Group B. I'm going to ask us both to do what we did for Group A, how this is all going to shake out after group stage is complete. And no surprise, I have the Seattle Sounders finishing on top of that group. But I have San Jose coming in second. And the reason being is that I am excited to see Matias Almeida coach this team in what is a World Cup style tournament. This is a guy who has a ton of trophies, and I think that this is going to bring out the best of them. We can look back at 2019 and look back at the second part of that season and their downfall that they had and missing the playoffs. But I think the team that we saw earlier on, maybe mid-season form, is actually more indicative of who San Jose are as a team. And I don't know, it's just a hunch. It's just a hunch I have that they're going to do well in this tournament, Kaylin. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to go with your gut.
Yeah, I mean, when we laid out the beginning of these groups, I had Dallas going through because from what I'd seen over them over the years, now obviously they drop out, and then in comes Chicago Fire. And when I look at the group, I think it's pretty clear as we've gone through, the Sounders are the favorites to advance in that first position. But I think it's pretty open afterwards. And Chicago Fire, yes, they will have a challenge of having to switch groups, and then kind of, even from the technical staff is going to have to, they've prepared one way and now will have to search for answers for some teams that they weren't necessarily planning for. But I liked what I saw from the Chicago Fire team. I mean, even when you look at that first match, they went to Seattle to begin the season and played well. They really did. And they've got some nice pieces that they've added throughout the offseason. Robert Barrich, I think, up front is going to score goals. And I think this tournament is going to see some young players emerge. I know he's had some really good moments in the past, but Georgi Mihailovic, I think, is a player that I could see continue to take that next step and really grab this tournament and score some goals. So I think the Chicago team has a little bit, they didn't get to play a home game. They were getting ready to go to Soldier Field. There's not a lot of expectations on them, switching groups and being a little bit of an unknown. I could see them surprising and getting through. Yeah.
Why not? I wouldn't be mad at that. Also, I just have to put it out there. Rafael Vicky and his hair Mateus Almeida was up there for me, and then he shaved it and went bald. And now in terms of our coaches and hair, because we all know soccer hair is my thing, Rafael Vicky. Did you see that? It's like Danny Houston-esque, just slicked back, really, really nice.
Wow.
I'm into
Danny
it.
Houston-esque. I love that.
It's not, listen, anytime I can talk about soccer hair, I'm going to throw it in there. Guys, just a reminder, MLS Is Back continues tonight. We have the reigning champs, Seattle Sounders, taking on San Jose. That game is at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can watch on ESPN. And don't you worry, because MLS Today is going to be back tomorrow. Now, Kaylin and I are going to have a day off, but our guys David Goss and Charlie Davies are going to be there for you, delivering all the news and highlights that you need. So you don't want to miss that. You can watch on MLSsoccer.com, Twitter, and Facebook. But for now, thank you so very much for watching. Have a fabulous weekend. Enjoy the soccer. We'll see you soon.